Hello, we will understand the concept of various classes, inheritance in classes, and also superclass and how you call parametric base class from derived class object. We'll understand one by one. So first, let's see. We have a grandfather class. Okay. This grandfather class has two constructors. Constructors are the function inside a class with same name as its class name. So see here, the class name is grandfather and function name also is grandfather. But there can be two kind of constructor. Constructor basically is also what constructor does. Constructor is having same name as a class, first thing, and second, it is invoked when the object is called. Object is of that class is defined. So whenever you make a object of grandfather class, this constructor will be called, or this will be called based on if you give argument or if you don't give argument to this function. So basically, what will happen when we call an object of grandfather class? Either this or this will be called, and the message inside this will be printed, or whatever you operation you do inside it will be done. So let's see once by example. So in grandfather class G, in main I am going, and I am calling an object of grandfather class, and the object name is G1. We are not calling it with any arguments, just we are making an object of grandfather class. Still we will see that this default base class constructor will be called. So this will be called, this base constructor will be called when we run this program. So let's run it. So this is default base class constructor, okay, it is called. Now, okay, this extra message has come because I have done the son class also. Just run with grandfather G1, one object only. So this is default base class constructor. This is same message as this one. This is same message as this one. This is default base class constructor. Now suppose you want to get this second parametric base class constructor, this one. If you want this one to be invoked, so what you will do? You have to change here and pass an argument to the object. So with grandfather class G1, with grandfather class G1, if you pass this argument, okay, if you pass this argument, if you pass this argument 10 here, okay, then this will be passed to that function, and when you run this one, if you run this one, you will see the parametric class constructor being called, and that message will be printed. This is parametric base class constructor called with 10. This is the message you are seeing here. This is parametric base class constructor called with value A, whatever you pass 10. That was what was happening, right? So you can have constructor, default constructor and parametric constructor. Now suppose you don't, if you want same with son class. So now son is a class okay, which is will inherit the grandfather class, and also have two constructor, one with argument, one without argument. Okay, this is without argument, this is with argument, means this is default constructor, this is parametric constructor. Okay, so same thing we will do. We will try to run try to call the sons class default and base constructor. First we will without pass any argument, then we will see. One second. Okay, so what happened now? So when you call the sons class base constructor, the parent class base constructor also get called. That is a concept actually. Okay, the concept here is, when you call the base class of derived class here, like the son is deriving from the grandfather class, right? So when you call when you make an object of son class, this son function will be executed, but this grandfather also, this default constructor of base class grandfather also will be called. So this both will be called. That's why you will see, and first this will be called the base class constructor, then derived class default constructor will be called. So when you run this, you will see first this is default base class constructor, this is derived class default constructor. So first parent class or grandfather class constructor has been called, then derived class. That is the order of constructor calling. Okay. Now, given all those things, now suppose you pass 7 here, this S1 with 7 means sons class constructor with parameter 7. In this case, what should come output? Let's check. Okay, in that case also you are seeing this is default, so base class default constructor and derived class parametric constructor both get called. So in this case also, if you see, in this case when you will add parameter, then first what will be called? First your this will be called your grandfather class default constructor will be called, this one. Grandfather class default constructor, this is default constructor, this will be called, and then your sons class parametric constructor will be called. So that's what you are saying. This is default class base constructor, this is derived class parametric constructor. If you see this, when you're calling son object with 7, what is the output? This is default base class constructor and this is derived class parametric constructor. So in this case, the parametric class of base parametric constructor of base class is not being called. Only the default constructor is being called of base class. Okay. So what you will do? So how to deal with this situation? If you want to call if you want to call this one from the object of son class. Suppose now you want to get this thing called, but without using the constructor of, without using the object of grandfather class. You want to use the object of son class. Okay. If you want to use the object of son class, then you are passing son S17. Then how it is? We have seen that this has only called a default constructor, not parametric constructor. So in that case, what you will do? You will use this thing. In a parametric constructor of derived class, we'll put colon and put the name of the class, parent class or grandfather class, and put the parameter 7 or whatever you are putting there. Okay. Could have put 8 here also. So it will call it with 8. Okay. I'm putting 7 for derived class and 8 for grandfather class. So both class parametric constructor will be called now. So see now what will be the output. This is parametric base class constructor called with 8, and this is derived class parametric constructor called with 7. So so let's explain this thing. So this B, which we are giving here, this, okay, this 7 will come here in a B, here in B it will come in this B, okay, and this derived class base constructor is called with 7, but grandfather class will be called by 8. So that's why you will see this message